Okay, so let's unpack this. We're diving into a really surprisingly dramatic sequence of events in a fish tank of all places.
It is, yeah.
We're focusing on what happens when, biology just trumps all expectations and how quickly new roles and alliances can form under pressure.
It's a goldmine of quick change behavioral data.
Yeah.
It really is. We're looking at these recent fish keeping notes, and they cover this rapid pivot.
A pivot from what exactly?
From a failed experiment right into a successful spawning event, and all within about, 48 hours.
Wow.
And what makes this deep dive so interesting is that the initial failure basically forced a decision that immediately produced some startling results.
About compatibility and parental roles, right?
Exactly.
So that's the key context. The sources, they start with this immediate failure. The original plan was to try crossbreeding.
Right. They had a large Zebra Cichlid, and they introduced it to a much smaller Parrot Cichlid.
Hoping for what? A hybrid or just a stable type?
Palomers, but the incompatibility was swift and total.
How
Well, over several days, the large Zebra Cichlid was just relentlessly chasing the smaller Parrot Cichlid away. It wasn't, just a little annoyance. This was a persistent, forceful rejection.
It's almost like a behavioral signpost, isn't it?
It is.
It's telling us that these fish, especially that larger Zebra Cichlid, they were primed for a bond, ready to set up territory, but that particular partner was just biologically unacceptable.
Absolutely. The environment was high stakes, and they wasted zero time on, fruitless diplomacy. When reproduction is the biological imperative, incompatibility, well, that just means vulnerability.
So the chase was a sign he was ready to breed, but just not with her.
Exactly. The partner was wrong.
Okay, so recognizing that this whole crossbreeding idea was a total bust, the keeper had to pivot. And this is where the story it speeds up like crazy.
Exponentially. There was the sudden availability of more Zebra Cichlids, so the strategy shifted entirely. It became about finding a compatible partner, same species, for that big male.
And they had options.
They did. Pre-bonded pairs, single fish.
Yeah.
It gave them a strategic advantage. Instead of waiting months, they could just try a rapid mix and match.
So the new plan was to introduce a group.
Specifically, 1 new male and 2 new female Zebra Cichlids into the tank with the original large male.
Now, I have to stop you here because the notes flag a pretty big risk. They did this despite the potentially drastic size difference. Isn't pairing up fish with a massive size difference just asking for trouble?
That is the pivotal question.
Yeah.
Yes, in cichlids, size is huge for dominance, but speed often indicates biological readiness.
So they're just assessing each other really fast.
Instantly. They're looking for cues, coloration, posture, how another fish reacts to aggression, the size difference. It almost acts like a filter. It just establishes a hierarchy immediately.
And what we see is, well, a true instant bond.
It really is.
Yeah.
The notes record remarkable progress the very next day. One of the new females immediately started to bond with that original very large male.
It was instantaneous.
Suggesting the big male found the right visual and behavioral signals right away. This wasn't some slow courtship. This is a high-priority match.
And crucially, it wasn't just happening anywhere in the tank. They were seen doing the characteristic mating dance ritual right near the terracotta pot.
Yes.
So tell us a bit more about that setup. Why is the terracotta pot so important here? I mean, to a casual observer, it's just a decoration.
Oh, it's absolutely critical. For a cave-spawning cichlid like this one, that pot is the resource. It's the shelter, the nursery, the fortress.
Okay.
So the mating dance happening there isn't just a display, it's a commitment ritual. They're securing and cleaning their chosen spawning site. The female needs to know that male will defend that specific spot.
So securing the pot confirms they're ready to go from just pairing up to
parental commitment immediately.
So within hours, we have a mate secured, the critical real estate claimed, and the intent to breed is signaled. That's an astonishing pace.
It is.
But this is where the story takes an aggressive turn, this success. It didn't exactly bring peace to the tank.
Quite the opposite. At the same time they're bonding, you see this immediate, intense territoriality.
They're a unit now.
They're a reproductive unit, and that unit sees everyone else as a direct threat.
And the notes say the newly paired female, the one who just did the mating dance, she becomes the aggressor.
Yes. She was actively chasing and attacking the other 2 cichlids. And it says she showed particular hostility toward the other female.
They're just telling.
Oh, it's textbook resource guarding.
Yeah.
She secured the most valuable resources, the big dominant male and the spawning site. And now her first job is to eliminate any reproductive competition.
And the other female is the most obvious threat.
The clearest, most immediate threat to her new status.
How rare is it to see the female driving this kind of aggression? I mean, even towards her own species. Wouldn't the male usually take the lead on that?
Well, it depends on the species, on the size dynamic. The male is usually the overall territory defender, sure, but the female is often the key defender of the immediate spawn site. But here, the intensity is just amplified because the pairing is so new. They're literally establishing their claim at the exact same moment they're committing to reproduce.
So her aggression is actually a sign of confidence.
Confidence in her new partner's ability to defend the area, and it's a declaration that the tank's social structure has just been, permanently changed.
And the consequence of all this was, well, an emergency extraction. The keeper had to get the other two out of there.
It was an expulsion, not a managed retreat. The aggression must have been seriously threatening their health.
And I love the detail in the notes about where they went.
Me too. They were temporarily relocated to a new, smaller outdoor pond.
Just booted from the main stage.
Summarily. It just illustrates the zero-tolerance policy of that new pair.
Okay, so let's recap. We have the initial failure, the quick pivot, the instant pairing, the aggressive takeover, all in about 48 hours. And then
the final confirmation.
Eggs. They found eggs inside the terracotta pot the very next day.
A rapid reproductive cycle indeed. That speed just confirms the biological urgency we were talking about. The female was ready, the male provided security. Boom.
But the sources give us an interesting little comparative detail here.
They do. The clutch size was described as rather small compared to that of a Jewel Cichlid.
And that comparison really sets the stage for the core mystery here, doesn't it? The unusual parental behavior.
It's the whole point.
Before we get into what the Zebra Cichlids did, let's frame the expectation. Why do we even compare them to the Jewel Cichlid model? What's the expected default behavior?
That's important context. So cichlids are famous for their sophisticated parental care. They're known for being biparental.
Meaning both parents are involved?
Right. Both the male and female invest a lot of time and energy into protecting the eggs and then the fry. In a species like the Jewel Cichlid, they typically take turns guarding...
a division of labor.
Exactly. One parent tends to the eggs, fanning them, cleaning them, while the other one guards the perimeter. It's a classic strategy to maximize both defense and direct care.
So the expected behavior is rotation. But in this specific Zebra Cichlid pair, that just completely vanished.
It did. The sources make this critical observation that only the female was busy tending to the eggs. She was inside the pod, handling the entire intimate care process all by herself.
And the large male
consistently observed swimming outside the pod. He was there, he was present, acting as a visible deterrent.
But completely absent from the hands-on egg care. No rotation.
A total delegation of duty.
Which raises a serious question when the note writer points out. Is this female only guarding the standard default behavior for Zebra Cichlids? Or is this just an isolated, weird case unique to this one pair?
And the sources offer a really compelling speculation, connecting it right back to the physical dynamic of the pair.
They suggest it might be influenced by the male's considerable size.
And that's where the deep dive really happens. If you think about resource allocation, the large size of the male might be an incredibly effective constant deterrent.
Like a bouncer.
Exactly. Think of it like this. If you have a massive bodyguard whose mere presence scares away 99% of threats, does he really need to do the detailed, intimate work, like fanning the eggs?
No, his job is just to be a visible force outside the door.
His effectiveness shifts from active, hands-on parenting to passive, perimeter-based dominance. His sheer size gives the female enough security that she can specialize entirely in the intricate care, knowing he's got defense covered.
So it's an evolutionary cost-benefit calculation.
Precisely. Biparental rotation is great when threats are equal, but when one partner brings overwhelming dominance to the table, specializing the labor just becomes more efficient.
She maximizes egg viability through constant attention.
And he maximizes general survival through broad deterrence.
But couldn't that be risky? If he's only on the perimeter, he's not doing any of the fanning, which is essential for oxygenation.
That's a sharp observation.
Maybe the small clutch size is part of that. Maybe they already hedged their bets, and the female thought she could manage that smaller clutch alone, even without the rotation.
That makes a lot of sense. A smaller clutch needs less total fanning, making female-only care more viable. If a Jewel Cichlid lays a massive clutch, rotation is almost necessary just for maintenance.
So here, the small clutch plus the big male creates a unique model. High defense, focused care.
It suggests reproductive behavior in cichlids, even within one species, is way more plastic, more responsive to the specific dynamics of the pair than we might assume.
So if we synthesize this, the whole sequence, introduction, pairing, aggression, spawning, all within about 48 hours, it's an incredibly rapid yet surprisingly nuanced response.
The timeline gives it that narrative punch. But the author, being an experienced observer, throws in a necessary dose of cautionary advice.
Right, and this is a key takeaway.
They bring in this side note based on past experience, warning against getting too optimistic just because you see eggs.
They anticipate that most first-time breeders, especially ones that spawn immediately in a new exposed aquarium, well, they might not succeed.
This is the context of stress and environmental acclimation colliding with that biological drive. It's one thing to reproduce. It's another to successfully raise fry to maturity.
The fish need time to settle in.
A lot of time. Immediate spawning in a new setup often comes before a loss of the clutch, just because the stress level compromises the pair's long-term focus.
So the immediate success of the pairing has to be balanced against the reality that this environment is still foreign, still stressful.
Absolutely. The pairing tells us about compatibility. The caveat reminds us about the environment's impact on success.
And the only way to solve the main mystery, whether the female-only guarding is the norm, is, as the notes say, through more observation.
You got it. They need to see similar specialized behavior in other Zebra Cichlid pairs before they can draw a firm conclusion. This whole deep dive is basically a fantastic hypothesis that's just waiting for more data points.
It's a perfect microcosm of rapid behavioral science, isn't it? Observe a massive change, identify a specific deviation, the male's lack of hands-on care, and then set up the parameters for future confirmation.
We've seen compatibility chosen at high speed, territory violently established, and a traditional biparental role just instantly redefined, possibly by the sheer deterrent value of the male.
So what does this all mean? We've seen how quickly nature selects for compatibility, how roles are instantly defined when the pressure to reproduce is this high.
The female was ready, the male was dominant, and the roles split based on the dynamic they established, regardless of what the species typically does in a textbook.
In that observation that the male's size dictates the female's decision to handle all the egg guarding. That raises a really interesting point for you to consider, outside of the fish tank.
It does. Think about how size or immediate presence or dominance in any new social dynamic, a team, an organization, a family structure, dictates the division of labor.
Right.
If a strong, imposing figure enters a dynamic, they might not do the detail work, but their defensive presence alone lets others specialize in those more intimate tasks.
So what variables in your environment shift roles away from what you'd expect when a new power structure is established?
Exactly. Sometimes, just being large enough to scare away the general threats means you get to clock out of the detail work entirely.
That highly specialized, size-driven delegation is something to mull over as these little Zebra Cichlids hopefully navigate their very stressful first attempt at parenting.